Okay, so let's get rocking and rolling. I'm going to go through what's working now in real estate marketing and what's not working anymore. Um, it's going to be an opinionated day. So I'm not going to filter myself. I'm not going to do all of the things that I think people expect me to do to not contradict what a lot of people are saying or what a lot of people are telling you guys to do. But I don't feel like that's really serving you. And I think that a lot of the time I've been very careful and very respectful. And not that I'm going to be disrespectful, but I've been very careful and respectful to kind of honor people in whatever stage of the journey that they're in. But I think that we're at a point now where we either shake things up or we need to get out of the business, because it's 2023. And I think a lot of people are not adapting. And I'm going to talk about adaptation. I'm going to talk about adopting and adapting, and I'm going to talk about, what's coming briefly. But I do think that it's really important that we have the hard conversations now, because if we avoid them, a lot of those hard conversations are going to come up in a year or 2 years. And frankly, I think it's going to be too late. So let's get going. I start every training like this. Turn your camera on. You will get 10 times out of this training what you would if you don't have your camera on. Close out anything else that you have. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. It's an hour. No one's going to die. And there's also no such thing as a real estate emergency. So if you turn your phones off or turn your phones on Do Not Disturb, be as present as you possibly can be. Ask questions. The chat, like I said, this is a chill environment. If you have questions along the way, just type them in the chat. I will answer them. If I'm going to cover them a little bit later, I'll tell you I'm going to cover them later. And we'll have fun. And we'll talk about a lot of things. I am going to briefly touch on AI today, because I think it's the thing that's top of mind for a lot of people. And we're going to talk about what's working on social media, what's working in paid traffic, and then also what's working with AI. So don't assume just because you've been to a lot of my training, some of the stuff that if you've been to a lot, you've heard before. Some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, you for sure haven't heard before. And I think that there's a lot of resistance right now to being digital, to adopting the things that are, in my opinion, non-negotiables at this point. So instead of saying to yourself, this can't work for me, or I'm too afraid to do this, or I'm too old to do this, or, I've been doing things the same way for 30 years. Let's just reframe it, right? Just start asking yourself the question, how can this work for me? What are the ways that I can kind of bring this into my business? I'm going to give you everything that I can in the time that we have together. I have a lot of slides to get through, and I've got a lot of content to get through with you today. And if you have questions and you're shy, or you don't want to use the chat, or you've got something that's a little bit personal, send me an email, jess@thelistingslab.com. All of those emails come to me. I will respond to them, and I'll get you extra resources, extra trainings. I'll get you what you need. So don't be shy and use the email and use the chat today, because the more we use the chat today and the more questions people ask and the more comments that we get in there, honestly, the more fun this is going to be, not only for you guys, but for me. And the more people will get out of it. So this training today is for agents who want to leverage cutting edge digital marketing. So I'm specifically saying cutting edge because I think that is a really important thing to distinguish. Just because you're online doesn't mean you're ahead of the curve anymore. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of things wrong, especially in real estate, and they're bumping their head against the wall and getting frustrated with the way that the digital world is working today. And a lot of that has to do with it not being cutting edge. Maybe you're really tired of doing stuff the old school ways. I don't even teach them anymore. I'm actually pretty vocal now in 2023 against some of the old school ways of doing things, because I think that people are really, I think that they're really making things harder. And Mara, I agree. We're building out an AI, not a certification, because I don't think anybody can get certified in AI, but we're building out AI trainings as well to make sure that people are using them well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later, just in terms of like what to do and the inputs and the outputs to use with AI so that you're getting something that's high quality. Maybe you've been trying to figure out digital marketing. You've been overwhelmed. What you're doing isn't getting you clients. It doesn't, you know, it's not working. Action takers always use what you hear today and put it into action. Just try things, right? You don't know if you don't try. Maybe you're wanting to learn how to grow your business quickly. I'm going to show you some case studies and some stuff throughout this today of people who are using exactly what I'm teaching to generate inbound business. So the key here is inbound business. Absolutely nothing that I teach and will ever teach is going to be outbound chasing. I just don't believe in it. I don't think that it builds large businesses, and everything you guys know is geared around 7 figures or 7 figures or more. So the other thing that I'm seeing with some more seasoned agents and agents who've been around quite a bit is that there's a frustration with newer agents who are coming into the business and overtaking them very quickly and grabbing up market share. And a lot of that has to do with exposure. It has to do with the fact that, you know, maybe they're younger and they've, you know, grown up in a tech world. So instead of getting frustrated, I think that we have to figure out how to compete. You guys have all seen this slide before, but it's so relevant. If you're not able to develop a consistent and predictable marketing strategy that generates you high caliber clients on a regular basis, you're always going to be stressed and overwhelmed. You're always going to be spinning your wheels. It's just, this is the key and the cornerstone to every business. I don't care if you're selling sunglasses or you're selling, you know, you're selling services, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you don't have consistent business coming in, you're always going to be riding a roller coaster. All of this is going to feel good. I don't teach anything, and I don't ever want you to feel like something feels sleazy or disingenuous or anything like that. I want it to feel good. How many people here, just drop me a little like me, if this is the first of my trainings that you've ever come to? Because that makes a bit of a difference in terms of like, okay, so we've got maybe 1 or 2. Oh, guys, welcome. Okay, great. So I'll give you a quick little rundown. This is a skinnier version of me, as you can see. She was working out a little bit more regularly than I am, but it's still me. I've helped, so I was a real estate agent for 14 years, built a multi 7-figure business myself. And since then, I've helped over 3,000 agents in our paid programs, craft messaging and attract clients from social media. Forbes and Entrepreneur come to me when they need training or social media advice for their publications, specifically for real estate. I've spoken on some of the largest stages in North America. We are expanding into Europe, which is really exciting. We've had some very big companies and brokerages in Europe start to reach out and say, hey, you know what? We need to get into the 2023s as well. So can you come over here and can you teach our agents? I built my business with Facebook in 2005. So it's obviously changed quite a bit since then, but I've been doing this for a long time and I've been loving doing this for a long time. When I was doing several hundred deals a year, I was doing it 100% with true digital marketing. And I'm super introverted. So if you guys know me in real life, some of you do, I do not like being in groups of people. I'm a very, very introverted, very quiet person naturally. So a lot of the time, this was the most efficient and effective way for me to generate business. I'm just going to make sure that everyone's muted. Yeah, so this was the most efficient and effective way for me to generate business because I didn't have unlimited energy to go out and like hit the streets and do the things that, you know, my Keller Williams brokerage in 2005 was telling me to do. So I figured out a way to do this in a way that worked for me. Now, I'm going to show you some testimonials. I'm going to show you some case studies. I'm going to talk you through certain people's content today. These results are not typical. These are the people who actually did the work, the people who actually learned this and mastered it, not the people who just like did the steps, did a half-assed job and like called it a day. So I want to make that very clear. Your success or your lack thereof is always up to you. This works. It works 100% of the time. It's human psychology that is the basis for everything. And it really is just a matter of whether people are doing what they should be doing. So here's what we're going to go through today. the top 3 things that are working in digital marketing right now, the things that are no longer working well. We're going to talk about what to trade in terms of what maybe you've been doing for generating business and what to adopt. So if you have a limited amount of time to spend working on business generation, that's fine. How to make it the most efficient, what to stop doing and what to start doing. And we're also going to talk about how we all need to be thinking in 2023. So what's the fundamental shift in thinking that is really going to make a difference in terms of the people who are successful or the people who aren't? So let's get into it. We all good so far? Everyone's following? Everyone can hear me? Okay. So just a caveat, we're going to start with this. Nothing works in a vacuum. So you can't take one tiny piece of what I'm going to talk about today and say, I tried it and it doesn't work, because nothing works without a niche and nothing works without market research. And everything we're going to talk about is always going to be strategy over tactics. And I'm going to talk a little bit about tactics and about the like sleazy sales stuff that real estate agents are known for and why they don't work and why they aren't going to give you the consistent and predictable business that you want, and the strategies that we actually want to use in order for your business to keep compounding and growing on its own. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. We need to use this as a full package and not just bits and pieces. And skipping the foundational stuff, the unsexy stuff, means that it won't work, right? I'm going to talk about what that stuff is. I have lots of trainings. So if you're new to this world and you haven't figured out who your niche is, or you don't know your target demographic, or you don't know the message, like the basics of digital messaging, send me an email. It's just jess@thelistingslab.com, and I'll get you those trainings, because those are going to be those foundational pieces that everything builds on top of. And again, the laziness of the skipping steps and the mixing and matching is the only reason this won't work. So the first thing that we really need to get clear on is, what do you actually want? Because I get so many messages every day that says, I want more listings, or I need more leads. That's the number one thing that people tell me. I need more leads. And my answer to that question is always, do you need more leads or do you need more clients? Because they're not always the same thing in the digital world. I'm a kind of a believer that anyone in this day and age can generate some leads. I don't think that that's the hard part. I think the hard part is actually generating clients. And so the first question that I want you to ask yourself is, do you want more clients? Do you want more time freedom? Are you looking for financial safety? Do you feel unsafe in your business? Are you looking for less stress? What is it fundamentally that you're after here? Because once we understand that, we can then go into the next sections with more clarity, right? So when we live in a world, and I'm a really big believer that like living in a world where you want more is not a bad thing. And I think some of us have been trained, whether it's, the households that we grew up in or the environments that we grew up in, that we should be satisfied with what we have. And I don't believe that. I believe that if you desire or you want more, you do for a reason. And in the wanting world, there's an abundance of resources as a result of creativity and innovation that come from wanting more. And I think that that's really, really important, is that you don't get to want more if you're not willing to change and innovate and create. You don't get to do all of the things that 99% of all the other agents are doing and expect yourself to have different results. If you want to be the bottom of the barrel agent that has the middle of the road business, then you go and you do what everyone else is doing. But the people who really rise to the top, the people who have the big businesses, the people who really excel in their lives and their businesses, they don't do what everyone else does. They innovate, they create, and they do the things that are outside of the box. So it's the whole idea of what got you here won't get you there. So new goals actually will require you as a human being to jump to higher levels of confidence and capability. So the things that you can do now, the knowledge that you have now, will not get you to where you want to go. And the person that you are today will not achieve your dreams and your goals. You have to become an entirely new person for that to happen. And I think that fundamentally is the hardest part of all of this. You can have all the information in the world, but if you yourself are not willing to evolve and change, none of it's going to happen. And I say this to myself all the time. Every time I find myself slipping back into an old habit or something that I don't think is necessarily going to serve me, I have to remind myself that that's my safety pulling me back. And the person that I need to become, which in my world, we call it your vision self. So if I need to become my vision self in order to achieve the vision that I have, none of the things easy and safe for me to do today are the things that I should be doing. So that's really important to remember as we go through this, because some of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel uncomfortable because it's going to feel new. And it's not going to feel like the stuff that you're used to doing. So the first thing that I want to talk about, the first section of this I want to talk about is social media, because I think that social media is probably the least well utilized part of digital marketing. Real estate agents use social media terribly. And I think that real estate agents are probably the worst industry because we use social media like a billboard. We promote ourselves, we promote our listings, we promote our awards, and we provide no value. And that's why social media doesn't work in real estate. Because fundamentally, that's not what social media is for. Social media is social networking. And nobody's networking, no one's providing value, no one's having conversations. People in real estate are literally just shoving their own fake success down other people's throats on a daily basis. It's this kind of look at me, humble brag. I'm going to pretend to be more successful than I actually am. And then hopefully you'll see me as someone that is worthy of your business. The just listed, just sold stuff, if I could get rid of one thing on social media, it would be that. People have access to realtor.com and Zillow and realtor.ca, and we can find what's listed. We do not need to see those things on each individual real estate agent's social media. All of those images, all of that copy, all of those listings, all of the price points, they're all public information. And it's not valuable to be throwing that into your social media every day. And I think a lot of people say this to me all the time. They're like, well, you always say that just listed, just solds aren't good, but I got 3 deals last year from my just listed, just solds. And my answer to that is, well, talk to me when it's 100. And then we're going to have an actual even conversation, right? Because everything that we're talking about is about generating 100 new deals, not 3. Could you imagine creating content every day for 365 days a year to get 3 deals? To me, that doesn't seem like a good ROI. So a lot of what's not working on social media is the stuff that everybody's doing. So if you look around you and you see a whole bunch of real estate agents doing exactly the same thing, I want you to run in the opposite direction, because that stuff isn't working. And it makes us look bad. It filters us as noise. And it perpetuates that stereotype that real estate agents do nothing but sell, that we don't actually care, that all we want to do is sell, that we drive, our cars are too fancy. You know, the humble brag posts of like, oh my gosh, I would really love to thank all of my clients for my brand new Porsche. I'm so grateful for, you know, all of this money that I now have and I can buy this super fancy car, right? It's not valuable and it's not making you look good. So that's what's not working. Should you post some listings? Probably not. I mean, if you absolutely have to, because it's part of your contract with the specific listing, I would put it in an Instagram story. I wouldn't put it in your feed, because your feed, like, it really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is just to make your current clients happy, then fine. But if your goal is to generate more and new business as a marketing tool for you and for your team or for your business, no, I wouldn't do it. I think that all it serves is to make your current listings happy and like you're trying to get them more exposure through whatever means. So let's talk about what is working in social media. I'm going to break all of these down for you too. So what is working? Give before you ask, serve before you sell. It's very basic. It's theory of reciprocity. It always works, but very few people do it or do it well. Targeted niche down content. We're going to talk about that too. the perfect mix, which is your 3 buckets of content that you have to use in order to attract inbound business from social media. And I want to just make it very clear. When I say inbound business from social media, I'm talking about the messages that are, hi, I've been following you for 3 months. I'm pre-qualified for 500,000. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to start looking, or I'm ready to list my house or whatever. Will you be my realtor? That's the kind of message I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like, hey, can we talk about like what it looks like to work with you? Or can you show me this random house, but I won't sign a buyer rep? Like, that's not what we're talking about here, right? The other thing that's working, and it will always work and it will never stop working, is psychology first. And we're going to talk about that. These are immutable principles that don't change. And it doesn't matter what changes or what platform changes or algorithm changes happen. These are the things that will always work, but that people don't, for some reason, don't learn, or don't give them the weight that they need. So the first question that I always want you to ask every single time, because we're all extremely selfish when it comes to social media, right? What's in it for them? What you want to post doesn't matter. Your desires on social media don't matter. 100% of what you put out there is for your ideal audience. And 90% of people in real estate are inadvertently posting for other agents, which is why so many real estate agents have so many real estate agent followers, because you're actually not posting or creating content or messaging that resonates with your ideal clients. It becomes this like incestuous real estate agents following real estate agents, all posting the same things. And that's why you're not getting business from it, because it's not relevant to the people who you're actually trying to attract. It's only relevant, and the only people who really care are the other people in your market, or who are, rooting you on because you're friends, are copying the kind of content that you're putting out because you're all doing the same thing, with like a tiny, tiny twist on it. So it's really, really important that the first thing that we ask ourselves in the morning is not, what do I want to say? It's, what does my ideal client need to hear from me today? What is going to be the highest amount of value that I can give to my audience today? What are the questions that I'm being asked? What are the things that they need answers to? Right? And we're over the like 5 tips to getting more for your house with staging, right? Answer the real questions, right? And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. You don't get to function without a niche in 2023. If you're American, niche. I always have to change it depending on what stage I'm on. If I'm speaking in the States, I say niche. If I'm speaking in Canada, I say niche. Sometimes I mess it up. You have to know your customer intimately. Who is that customer? Many agents fail online because they fall into the trap of believing that they know who their ideal customer is, but they actually only know their age, their gender, their location. They don't actually know anything. So this is really key. You must enter the conversation already happening in the customer's mind. People don't move because it's fun. We move because there's something in our current situation that's not serving us. And the driver behind the move is more important than the move itself when it comes to marketing and when it comes to people feeling understood. Another way to look at this is, a lot of people in real estate believe that really good marketing allows your ideal customer to feel to understand you, right? So it's like, my name's Jess and my marketing is really good because everybody in my audience understands me. That's actually fundamentally the opposite. In order for marketing to be really good and to be really effective, your ideal customer needs to feel understood by you. So it's not about you, it's about them. So knowing your avatar and knowing your ideal customer and the profile behind that customer is the most important thing, because it changes your product and your services. It changes your marketing strategy. It changes your value proposition. It changes the tone of the copy and the content that you put out. It changes where you advertise and where you spend your money and where you spend your time. And that's just the beginning of it. So without this, you have actually no direction as to what you're doing and where you're putting it and what you're saying. It becomes very vague. We end up with the vague messaging, like, I'm here for all of your real estate needs, which means nothing. right? And so a lot of this really fundamentally comes down to, if you don't know who your target is, then you don't know anything. And if you were listening to this and you're thinking, I don't know who my target is, send me an email and I'll get you a niching training, right? But fundamentally, we don't get to service everybody anymore. And because no one can afford to target everyone. The purpose of going after an avatar online, first of all, it's not going to drive all of your other business away, because all of your repeat and referral business and all of that sphere business will stay the same. No one's going to look at your online profile and say, oh, this person focuses on upsizers, they're not going to help me. All of that business stays the same. What this allows us to do is focus your message and marketing budget on whichever market is most likely to work with you. It's the 80-20 rule. And then it actually brings clarity to your marketing message, right? So this becomes the foundation for everything that we build from here. So the most important thing, just opening the chat to make sure that I haven't missed anybody here. Okay, I've missed a lot. Hang on a second, guys. Sorry, I had it closed. Do you think that this is also because the majority of people in our social agent? Yeah, 100%. Everybody, real estate agents are just yelling at each other. They're just saying me. Yeah. And so AJ's saying that he deleted all the real estate agents. Someone asked me at one of my trainings that I did in Calgary the other day, she's like, what if your friends on your Facebook are maxed? And I was like, go in and delete all the real estate agents. They're not going to work with you. You know, you may get a referral here and there, but unless you're getting like hundreds of referrals a year from your Facebook, it's not worth it. You're taking up that valuable space. So, okay, so most important thing, advertising channels change, landing page builders change, algorithms change, tactics change, trends change, but the fundamentals don't change, right? So the fundamentals of knowing what people want, understanding how you can help them, and then telling those people in the most persuasive way that they should be working with you. That is what works and will always work. It doesn't matter what the channel is. We're going to get into channels a little bit more. So a lot of you've seen this before. If you haven't seen this, again, I've got tons of trainings on it. There's 45 minutes just for this one slide. But there is a 9-point messaging sequence that you have to nail in order to get someone from complete stranger to inbound client. And this is it. Once you nail these 9 points and the content that's associated, which I am going to go through in more detail, the content that you need to actually put in front of people on a consistent basis, once you nail that, everything becomes super easy, right? Everybody thinks that, oh my gosh, inbound business is crazy. I've built a 7-figure business and an 8-figure business solely on inbound client generation. And the only reason that it works is because of this. It's literally this wheel that has made me like all of the money that I've ever made. And I say to my husband all the time, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter if all of our properties burned down. If someone stole my identity and cleared out all of our accounts, we will always be okay, because I know this. Because I really understand, I've mastered this strategy. This is just an example. Heather, I like to use Heather because, you know, she was doing well. She was doing about 24 deals a year when we started working together. She did 150 million in volume in the first 6 months that she actually started using the psychology. And she continues to grow. And her psychology works on everyone, including my mother. My mom is literally about to list one of our family properties with her because she follows Heather online. My mom called me and said, should I list this condo with Heather? I was like, you list it with whoever you want. Right. And I think that it's super, super important that people are being like the right things are being put in front of people. And if these numbers freak you out, they're meant to. I'm not going to show you like people who got an extra 10 deals. I'm going to show you people who got an extra 100 deals, because I actually believe that it's easier to get an extra 100 deals than it is to get an extra 10 deals. Because all you have to do to get an extra 10 deals is work harder. But you have to fundamentally change your entire business model and the way that you do everything in order to get an extra 100 deals. You can't work harder to an extra 100 deals. So organic marketing, the way that I like to look at this is that I believe that online audience is the new sphere, because it's the way that you're actually be able to create relationships at scale in a way that it is actually scalable. So email, I always start with email because email is the only list that you own. One Instagram account, Facebook business page, Facebook personal page, Facebook group. You don't have to have all of these. And I'm going to talk about platforms in a second. You don't have to have all of these, but you do have to have an email list. And you have to have an email list that is continuing to grow and that is nurtured well using a 9-point psychological journey. Because when you have that, you will always be fine. It doesn't matter what else is happening. It doesn't matter if the government shuts TikTok down. It doesn't matter if your Facebook account gets hacked. It doesn't matter. If you have an engaged email list that you nurture on a regular basis, you will always have business. I actually took this picture out of a book this morning. So most people in real estate are only thinking about this 3%, right? They're only thinking about the people who are buying right now. And this is the fundamental key when it comes to marketing. Information gathering mode is another 17%. Now, keep in mind, most agents are running cold leads or cold traffic, and they're only wanting to have the conversation with this 3%, which is very difficult to get. But imagine if you start here or even here, how much more people you can bring into your audience, that you can have conversations with, that you can build relationships with. And then as they travel, larger and larger numbers travel up this pyramid, this number here, this 3% number, instead of being 3 people, will be 3,000 people, as long as you're targeting people further down on the pyramid. Does that make sense? Okay. So, platforms. A lot of people, what platform do I need to be on? I get that question. That's probably the number one question I get. Do I need to be on TikTok? Do I need to be on Instagram? Do I need to be on YouTube? Where should I be? And there's a lot of people in like the EXP world who are really pushing YouTube, right? Well, it depends on what the goal is. YouTube is great for recruitment. If your entire goal is to recruit other agents, YouTube. If your entire goal is to work with relocation, YouTube. If your goal is to work with buying local property, YouTube is not your friend. Don't spend time and energy and bandwidth creating on YouTube. You're not going to get enough business from it. So this all comes down to who are you targeting and what is the end result that you're looking for. That directly determines what platform you should be on. So TikTok is for audience growth, not conversion. So if you grow a large TikTok audience, there are agents who have millions of TikTok followers and their businesses are not big. And it's because TikTok is really great to grow an audience, but it is not good for converting that audience. So in order to get that audience off of TikTok, you have to get them into email or onto something like Instagram in order to actually have the conversion mechanisms start to work. So you can have 1 million TikTok followers and have a $150,000 business. It's not always directly correlated. And each platform reacts differently to content. So again, like you don't need to be on every platform. You need to be on the platform that your ideal clients spend time on. And I use myself as an example all the time. I create for Facebook. But I myself, if someone wants to sell me something, they can sell me on an Instagram ad. I buy all kinds of stuff that I don't need on Instagram, right? And it's because that's where I'm spending the most time scrolling, on Instagram or on TikTok. Does that make sense? Did I blow your mind with the YouTube thing a little bit? Yeah, I thought so. I was like, there's going to be a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to have a podcast or I'm going to have a YouTube channel and then I'm going to blow up my business. Those are very slow burn platforms. And it's very difficult to generate consistent business off of those platforms in real estate, especially for local marketing, right? Relocation, super, super great. I found my real estate agent in the Bahamas when I was living in Toronto through YouTube, but it's really not the best thing for local business generation. If you are just joining us now, you have missed a lot, and this is all going to build on itself. So you may be confused. You're going to have to watch the replay. You know what? Making videos and editing is not hard. And we're going to talk about that in a second. There are apps for that now. We live in 2023. We live in the world of AI. There are apps that will do all of that for you. So I'm not saying that you don't have to make videos. I'm just saying you don't have to make YouTube videos. Every single human being on the planet who has a business has to make videos now. We don't get to opt out of that. So, but it's also not hard anymore. When I started creating social media content, it was hard. But today it's not. It's very, very easy. It's really about consistency. Okay, so let's talk about content. I want to make sure I get through all of this. So your key 3 content pillars to take people from stranger to client. We have authority content, personal content, and social proof. So Swati, I just answered this question. I can't tell you that until I know who you're targeting. So it depends on your niche. And so like if you're working with downsizers, then probably Facebook. If you're working with upsizers, probably Instagram. It really depends. In order for me to answer that question, I would need to know who your target demographic is. So authority content, personal content, social proof. So authority content should make up 1/3 of your content. And it is content that shows you're an expert. It's credibility content. It's, I know what I'm talking about content, right? So a lot of this just really is, what are your ideal clients asking questions about? What are the questions you're getting on showings? What are the questions that you're getting on even your content or your videos? What are the fears that people are having? What are the trolls saying? The market's crashing and everyone's going to die. Well, okay, but like, let's have like an actual conversation about this, right? What is actually happening? What does the data actually say? Why is this a good thing? I mean, this market that we're in right now, I'm obsessed with it. I've been saying that this was coming for 5 years. And I'm really excited because I think that the number of people who are licensed real estate agents is going to drop. And I think that's a great thing for this industry. I think all of those people who got into real estate because you could be a monkey and sell real estate in the last years, all of those people are going to get out of the business, which is fantastic because not only is the market, like the market share, going to shift to people who are actually really good at doing this and who genuinely like are treating this like a real business. But it's also going to allow us to create more value and more professionalism in the industry. So I think it's good. So authority content, every single question you get asked, every comment that you get on anything, everything outside of like, how's the market, right? So, because you're going to get that no matter what. And there's no, like, any agent who actually answers that question is like, you're actually doing a disservice because you need to ask 10 more questions in order to answer that question for that person. You need to know the market is not a thing, right? The market for upsizers is a thing. The market for downsizers is a thing. The market for first-time buyers is a thing. The market for investors is a thing. But the market overall, it depends. And it depends on what that person is doing with their real estate, what their goals are, and what their risk appetite is. So I think that we need to start qualifying that question and not just saying, oh, the market's great, it's always a good time to buy, because it's not true, right? Right now, we're actually in a really great investor market for people who actually have some appetite for risk. There's people who are going to make a lot of money right now, but that's not everybody. So this is really important. Authority content is myth busting content. So like the truth behind open houses, or what does sold over asking really mean, or answering questions, also talking about your unique value proposition, which again, I have trainings on it. I couldn't fit it all in today. These are just some examples, right? So, these are the questions that people are being asked. They're answering the questions. Now, personal content. Personal content also needs to make up at least 1/3 of your content. And most people in real estate are using personal content like maybe 3% of the time, maybe not at all. So people cannot know you, like you, and trust you if they don't know anything about you. So people work with people, people don't work with businesses, and they don't work with logos. So it's really important that like the personal side of the content is really, really strong. So personal content is who are you outside of work? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? What is your philosophy on life or on business? What did you do on the weekend? What's your most embarrassing moment? What was the moment that you knew that you were going to marry your wife? Right? How did you find your dog? Right? All of those things are things that create points of resonance between people. I have 2 cats. I am a very proud crazy cat lady. And people all the time, I will literally open up a Zoom call for someone I've never met in my life before, and they'll say, I hate cats. It has nothing to do with business, but immediately we have something to talk about. And there's a point of resonance. And so I think a lot of that is, I'm not known as like, oh, Jess Lineville, like marketing, I'm known as Jess Lineville who like lives in the Bahamas, right? Because that's what people know about me and that's what people resonate with. So here's just some examples. Personal content is incredibly important. Long form content. I don't want to see a picture of a sunset that says like, beautiful sunset. That's not content. And Instagram is no longer a photo only platform. It is a long form content platform. So, I mean, when I say long form content, I mean like 2,200 characters, right? You need to be creating valuable story driven posts. Stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. So if you're not telling stories and you're not telling stories about your clients and you're not telling stories about properties and you're not telling stories about yourself, people are not going to get drawn into your content. Social proof is your third bucket. So this is not, I have business, therefore you should give me more business. This is not the humble brag stuff. This is showing people that you have happy clients. Case studies, testimonials, and PR. So case studies are the story of your client. And I'm going to go through, how does someone get better at storytelling? Study it. So Google the hero's journey. Go through the hero's journey and you will learn a lot about storytelling. We teach it in all of our programs, but that's something that you can Google. You can go on YouTube. There's a lot of people who teach how to tell better stories. And storytelling is compelling. It's how everything gets passed down. And all of these social platforms are still storytelling platforms. They're just online. Case studies are just stories. When we do case study content, and I'll show you in a second what that looks like in the middle here. So this is a perfect case study. A lot of my clients are in a similar situation as Jim and Laura. They needed more space after their first son. They've been looking for the right house at the right price and room in their budget to make their own improvements. We help them get the most out of their money while moving from their starter home to a 4-bedroom home with a yard. So immediately we have pain point, we have problem, we have desire. And then the rest of the post is about her specific signature process that works with upsizing families. So in this, she's told a story, she's hit a pain point, she's hit a desire, and she's also been able to walk someone and educate someone through her process without once doing a humble brag, without once doing like a big look at me. So testimonials, I'm going to go back to the previous slide. Testimonials are also incredibly important. Testimonial reviews, basically, but we want them as screenshots. If you use Canva for anything in social media, I want you to delete your Canva account. Okay. You taking something out of its original form and putting it into something that looks pretty loses all credibility because you can edit it. You're essentially retyping what somebody said, and nobody else knows whether or not you changed it or made it up. So screenshots which is the reason we use screenshots, right? Like here, the next slide is a screenshot. I'm using screenshots as well because you can't take things out of screenshots. Well, you can, but not very easily. And I'm certainly not going to sit around and edit my screenshots when I can just find a better one, right? And so I think a lot of this really comes down to trustworthiness. Now, the last one is PR or media. So getting some media attention for your business creates third-party bias. So it allows people to see you as more successful than you are. We call it like the halo effect, right? So a lot of the time, what we want to do is we want to get you in front of another local audience that is, you know, a correct audience for you and for your business, and also allow you to use that PR in front of your audience to create more credibility. So media, you can use websites like Haro. Haro is Haro, which is help a reporter out. If you haven't used that before. And literally all it's going to do is it's going to give you reporters that are looking for comment on different things for media pieces. And when you do that, you get to comment on it, set a Google alert for your name. You'll get quoted in things. We have someone in our 7-figure agent program who's been on the front page of the Toronto Star 3 times in the last year and a half. And all of that came from using our pitch template and using Haro for the first time. Now she has that relationship. So when that reporter then needs comment on what's happening in real estate, she goes back to her. She goes back to April and says, Mara, it's in all of the programs that you're in. There is literally a PR section, lady. Okay, so I know there's so much in there. Okay, so this is just like, this isn't my words, and you can listen to me 100 times say everything that you're probably doing online right now is wrong. Julie, you can actually narrow it down and you can change Haro to be Canadian specific. You just you just need to play with your targeting. For personal pics, would you put it on your story or post? Both. So we've tested this a lot. You can take a picture of you and a picture of a staircase or a beautiful kitchen and put the same content below it. The picture of you will get 3 to 5 times the engagement than the picture of the kitchen. People don't go on social media to look at pictures of kitchens. People go on social media to look at people. And we are all more attracted to other people's faces. So use photos of yourself. Okay, so Justin basically said, hold on to your hats. Content's so rich and on point. Be ready to work, but work in a way that finally creates traction for your business. I'll bet 80%, I don't know where he got this number from, of what you're doing right now is somewhat wrong or ineffective, right? This is really important. This isn't me saying this. This is Justin saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much I was doing wrong. All right, so that's social media. If you have questions about any of that, whether it's niching or messaging or anything, send me an email. I'll get you a training for it. Let's talk about what's working in ads. And it's pretty simple. It doesn't matter where the lead comes from. So many people are like, oh, I'm running Google ads, or I'm running Facebook ads, or I'm running YouTube ads, or I don't know, magic. I have magic in my fingers and leads are falling from the sky. It doesn't matter where the lead comes from. It's a cold lead. Okay. All cold leads, if you try to comb through them on your own, are garbage. So so many people are wasting their happy lives calling through cold, unqualified leads. You can't do them. You can't do it this way. You will burn yourself out and you will make yourself a very unhappy human being, and you'll want to get out of real estate. So you can't just go lead to call and then dismiss the leads as bad leads. This is what most agents are doing. And so many people will say to me, I've tried Facebook ads, they don't work. I'm like, really? Nike runs Facebook ads. And most billion-dollar companies out there run Facebook ads. Do you think that maybe it's that you don't know how to use Facebook ads, or do you really think that it's just all Facebook ads don't work? Right? It's so easy for us to say, I tried it, it didn't work. But the key here is that it doesn't matter where the lead comes from, it's what happens to that person after they become a lead. Are you running retargeting campaigns that use a 9-point psychological journey from stranger to client? Please don't raise your hand if you have a question. Type it into the chat. I'll get to all of the questions. I just can't I can't do the raised hand thing. It's too confusing, and then I have to switch screens. Thank you. So retargeting campaigns, email campaigns, follow-up campaigns, all of this stuff is super important. It's not just about generating a cold lead. Anybody can generate a cold lead nowadays, right? It's just, it's about going deeper rather than wider. It's what happens to someone after they become a lead, right? And honestly, this is just, it's common sense, but I don't know where it went. Because if you think about it, when you meet someone for the first time, and if they walk up to you on the street and they try to sell you something, you're going to think it's very weird. But yet that's what we do online every day. We generate a cold lead that they have no idea who you are or what you do. And then all of a sudden you're calling them and asking them if they're ready to buy or sell. And again, you're focusing on the 3% in the top of the pyramid, instead of actually taking someone who will be ready and nurturing them and getting them to a point where they know you, like you, trust you, and want to work with you. That's how inbound business is created. So again, this becomes the rule, the 9-point messaging sequence. If I don't have at least 50 emails from you guys asking for this training in my email right now, I've done something wrong. Okay, so you need this 9-point messaging sequence in order to take that person from stranger to client, whether it's organic social media or it's paid traffic. So your retargeting campaigns, your email campaigns, your assets that you use in your business, your guides, your checklists, your listing presentation, everything should follow this formula. This is how we make it a slam dunk every time. It's all through messaging, James. 100% of it comes through messaging. If your messaging is vague, you're going to get a whole bunch of random stuff, or you're not going to get much, and it's going to be expensive. So it's actually better, and good marketers, even when we had all of those targeting capabilities in Facebook, weren't using them. They were using open targeting, and they were using messaging and the right language and the right lead magnets to get the right people actually clicking through. So this all kind of comes back down to the same things that I was talking about at the very beginning of this presentation, because that is the thing that's the most important. It's the niching and the messaging. So just some more examples, because I want you to understand, like, the whole point of this is I want you to understand that it works, right? Haven't made a single cold call. I write my content. I've created a step-by-step method. It holds incredible values. They choose me for me. Ad win, $144 ad spend, 31 leads, 3 new clients, 2.6 million in new business. I didn't have to sell the sizzle. They wanted to work with me. Again, it's the power of inbound. Just got a call for $2 to $3 million. Crazy time of my life, full of stress. Jess invested in me so much and supported me. I grew, I implemented, I changed my business. In the last 6 days, I've had 6 clients go pending on deals, 3 new listings, all through organic content and Listings Lab ads. This stuff works, and it works consistently, and it works fast, and it works big. Same thing. Never been busier. 5 to 8 new people this week, right? 15 minutes, 20 leads, right? A lot of this really just comes down to making sure that you're doing it well and you're doing it right. Okay, AI. Now, AI is a whole other animal, and I'm in the process of creating an entire program just for how to use AI to generate high quality content. Anybody who's in our programs, who's in the Listings Lab, or who's in the 7-Figure Agent will get it for free. So if you're here and you're like, how do I get that? It will just, you'll get an announcement. It'll get uploaded into your course content. So what we want to talk about when we talk about AI is we want to talk about optimizing input, finding your voice so that it actually sounds like you and it's an amplification of you and it's not a replacement for you. And then we also want to ask it for specific outputs. I don't have time to do an entire training on this, but I just wanted to touch on it. And then you have to be very specific with the output. So ChatGPT, as an example, is the sleaziest guy you know if you don't put the right inputs in. He is going to give you can call him whatever you want. You can call him Chachi, you can call him, name him, so that you don't feel like you're talking to a robot. But the chatbot is mimicking a huge breadth of information. Most of it selling something, right? And it will default to that salesy, pitchy, smarmy, gross language unless you give it the right inputs. So you have to be able to work with it in terms of what it is. So there are ways, and I can't teach it all to you today. Maybe I'll do a whole other training on exactly this, but you can actually get ChatGPT to interview you to create the right thing. So like, as an example, you know, if I wanted to write a new bio for myself, I could go into ChatGPT and I could say, can you please interview me with all of the information you need to know about me and my business in order to write a bio in the style of Forbes magazine. It will ask you questions. You respond to all of the questions. At the end of it, it'll spit you out a bio and you can edit it from there. Just one example of how to use it properly and how to use it well. So this is just also an example here of like, these are the inputs that we need. Okay, desired writing style, target audience. Guys, the target audience comes in everything. So target audience as overall message or context that you want conveyed in the messaging. You can even input now writing samples from you. What I do, I use voice recorded samples so that it sounds even more like me. It's not my writing style, it's my speaking style. So there's a lot that you can do here that will create really, really high quality stuff that is an amplification of you. It's not the garbage stuff that it's been spitting out that you can tell. You think that we can't tell that you've put something in ChatGPT and it spit it out, you copied and pasted it and used it as content because it's vague and it's weird and it's not super valuable. So this is just examples of how it can be used. Just opening the chat again. Yeah, I mean, everyone's using AI the wrong way right now, but there is a right way to do it. And it's a way that it builds relationship and it feels more like you. So AI can do some of the work for you, but the foundations are still the same. Okay, the foundations are still the same. You still need to know your messaging. You still need to know your avatar. You still have to do the market research. Okay, so just going into this last part, the one problem that exists for everybody today is, are you going to be Blockbuster? That's pure, like, just, that's it. Are you going to be online? Are you going to use online stuff properly? Or are you going to get filtered? And the decisions that you make now in, you know, June of 2023 will make a huge difference. It will change everything, right? Your current results that you have today are the sum of all the decisions that you've made in your life. So if you're super happy with where you are, fantastic. You made a lot of really good decisions. But if you aren't super happy, then the way that you make decisions fundamentally has to change. And if you feel behind now, it's just going to get worse. So go through the growing pains and do the work and be confused and overwhelmed now, then wait another 2 years where it's going to be a lot harder to catch up, right? So it's not as, and I love this quote from Warren Buffett, it's not as important how hard you row, but what boat you're in. I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of traditional things and working really, really hard and not getting the results and getting frustrated. And then they're looking at people who are doing the digital stuff and who are seeing success with it and they're doing well and they're surpassing them and they're getting frustrated. So I'm not going to go through this section because we're running out of time. But when it comes to marketing, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. So what we don't want is, we don't want anybody to feel indifferent to you. I would rather that 50% of people loved you and 50% of people hated you than 100% of people were indifferent to you. Because 50% of people loving you is fantastic, because that means your business is going to grow. Indifference leads to no business. Okay. So this is your key. This is what you need to do in order to run effective paid traffic. You need to niche, market research interview. You've got to map your 9-point messaging journey. You have to set up your platforms well. You have to create your content strategy based on the 3 buckets. And then you have to create consistency. I don't want you running paid traffic until you have 3 to 5 deals a month coming in organically from social media, because that means that the message is vetted. If the message isn't vetted, then it means that you're throwing money away. So why wouldn't you wait until you're getting consistent business from organic, meaning that it's functioning, it's good, your business is growing sustainably, and then you add fuel to the fire with the paid traffic? Because that's all paid traffic is it's taking messaging that works and then putting it in front of more people. Okay. So this is going to be really important. How many of you have watched the videos for the Vision Pro? Okay, Apple has just released this. This is essentially the future of computing. I'm obsessed with it. I can't wait to get one. I'm on the waiting list. But the way that we do things is going to be very different. It is not going to be, imagine people are still using landlines and fax machines and pagers in a time where like these exist. It's shocking. And you don't get to opt out of social media anymore, digital marketing, because like this is literally how like the direction the world is going, whether you like it or not. And I think there's good and bad coming from it. Communication is going to be 100% digital. More change in communication has happened in the last 5 years than in the previous 30 years. So imagine what's going to happen in the next 5 years, right? Innovation is happening really, really quickly. And the way that real estate agents function is going to be different. Not only are we going to have the way that we market properties is going to be completely different, the way that we market to clients is going to be different. And unfortunately, we live in a time now where we have to prove our worth. And the decisions that we make now are going to make a really big difference about whether or not we have business. And I think that we are extremely valuable. And I do think that there's a space for us, but we have to change the way that we think about things and change the way that we do things. We have to stay up to date. How you think about the problem and how fast you act and adapt and how you interpret information is the solution. So instead of saying, oh, and resisting change and resisting the things that are happening, you get to say, oh my gosh, that's so cool. How can I figure out how to use this in my business? So the problem isn't necessarily the problem. The problem is how you think about the problem. Okay, I'm going to go through this quickly. For those of you who are interested, you can take what you learned today, put it into practice, go run, do your thing, ask me for trainings. Or if you're like, hey, you know what? She's cool. I like her. I want to learn more from her. We'll book you a call. And on the call, we'll go through message, like, you know, I don't know what you need. It may be messaging help. It could be niching help. It could be everything. That's fine. So what we'll do is we'll talk for roughly like 30, 45 minutes. We'll talk about your current monthly income and where you want to be. We'll look at your current business model, how you're generating business, how you're serving your clients, all of that. We'll give you your next best steps to start getting business from a digital footprint. That's it. And it's a free call, but if you're interested or you want to have a conversation, this is the link to use. I'm going to drop it in here so that you can just grab the link. Listingslab.com/apply. It's not an Oculus. No, it's called a Vision Pro. I have an Oculus. Oculus is old school now. It's crazy. Things move so quickly. It's a Vision Pro, which is essentially going to be everything that you do with a computer, you will do with your hands and your voice and a headset. It's the coolest thing. If you haven't, like, just Google Vision Pro and like watch the video. It's insane. I want one so badly. And I actually think that this is going to get my husband to switch from Android to Apple. I think this is going to be it. He watched the video yesterday and he's like, wow, I don't know. I might switch now. So we'll see. Anyway, yeah, if you have any questions, please just send me an email. I'm always here. Send me a DM, ask me questions, whatever you need. But I've taken 7 minutes more time than I said that I would. So go do the things, be great, and adapt. Okay? Adapt, do the things, get online. Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon.